I'm currently a senior product manager in big tech, and since I started working in 2020, I've been able to 5x my salary in my 9-to-5 job. Today I'm going to show you how much I made in each position, how compensation works at big tech companies, and exactly what I did to get where I am right now. The first step is to decide what role you actually want. The roles I'd consider kind of in the top tier are those that pay over $150,000 and are ones that people can actually achieve in a couple of years. There's a few roles like being a doctor or a lawyer that you need a very highly specialized path to go to for a long time. We're not aiming for those. We're trying to get something that can turn your life around in a couple of years. So you want to pick from a different field. In my opinion, tech is one of the few fields where you're able to actually multiply your salary by just learning a few skills and landing the right opportunity, than becoming a doctor where you have to go through 8 to 10 years of school. And making above $150,000 actually still puts you in the 91st percentile of the country. Here's a few different jobs in tech that actually pay that amount or more. Today, we're not going to actually cover what each of those individual roles are. We'll do that in another video. But my advice would be to do some research about which of those roles kind of interests you and set yourself on a path for which one you choose, because they do require a little bit of specialization, but there's a lot of overlap, and so you're able to build progress kind of in the same direction if you know where you're going. So now, before I show you exactly how much I made at each of my roles, let's take a sec to talk about how compensation works at big tech companies. There's usually 3 main components. There's your base salary, your stock grants, and your bonuses. So base salary is pretty self-explanatory. It's what you get paid on a bi-weekly basis. Maybe that's anywhere from, depending on the salary, maybe it's 100,000, 200,000, etc. Obviously it depends. But a lot of the times in tech, your compensation actually comes from stocks. What happens is when you sign up, you're given a stock grant that really vests over a certain number of years. Let's say, for example, I got a $100,000 stock grant and it was supposed to vest over 4 years. It was supposed to vest over 4 years, meaning I would get a portion of it each year. Different companies vest on different schedules. For example, Google will give you 32% of your stocks in the first year, whereas Amazon's schedule is a lot more backloaded, where they give you about 5%, 15% your second year, and then 40% each of your latter 2 years. So really incentivizing you to try and stay for the whole thing. Where some companies do make up for it though is with the actual bonus. So let's say, for example, you sign a job contract at Amazon that's worth $150,000. Let's say 100 of that is your salary, and you're projected to make 150 over those 4 years. Well, in the later years, a lot of that is coming from the stock that you're supposed to get. But in the first couple years, they'll actually bridge that using a cash bonus. So you might get $100,000 and maybe a $50,000 cash bonus, where later that would convert to stocks in the future. Generally, as you either progress in the company or move up, the companies are giving you refreshers on stocks each year as well. It largely depends on the company itself, but you are able to actually keep getting new stock units that vest each year with your performance review. So now let's talk about how much I actually made in each role. In May of 2020, I took a job with Amazon as a warehouse manager, making about $50,000 base and $10,000 to $12,000 bonus. 5.5 of that was a cash bonus, and the other 7 of it was relocation. So my total compensation in my first role was $62,000. Then I stayed in that role for about a year, I got promoted, and that promotion took me to about $65,000 total. It wasn't much of a raise, I was a little bit disappointed with the amount, but that's factoring in that a lot of my initial compensation was from a relocation bonus, so that the increase in the second role didn't actually end up being too much more than it. After this, I wanted to develop a new career path, and I found a job as an Amazon project manager, making about $87,000. One thing to consider is that your stocks kick in at different points in the year, so your compensation can theoretically change by a pretty significant amount, depending on whether or not it's a calendar year where you're going to get some stocks vested or not. After this project management job, when the calendar year turned over, my compensation actually went up to $120,000 because the stocks I had gathered over the first 2 years ended up kicking in then. I continued this role through May of 2022, where I was able to transition to a software development team in the same space. It was a stretch role where I stayed in the same org, but I was able to maintain my progress from my original project management career into this role, even though I didn't get a new title yet. Because of this, I got promoted in October of 2022 to senior project manager, where I went from making $120,000 to $150,000 total. During this time, I had been working on building a product management portfolio that would enable me to transition to that role formally. This is where the big jump came in when I submitted the paperwork to become a senior manager of technical product management. I got that promotion within June of 2023, and my projected compensation was $180,000 for the second half of 2023. Where this is important though, is that my stocks from that promotion kicked in 2024. So my projected compensation for 2024 actually went all the way up to $272,000, because that's what I was supposed to be making in the role. So as of January 2024, I was making $272,000. At the same time, I actually started a role as a people manager where I took on a few direct reports starting that year. Amazon then does its annual compensation cycles in April, so I was able to get my final compensation last month of $330,000. Now the projected total comp fluctuates a little bit day by day based off where the stock is. If you take today's number, Amazon stock is about $189. So the way that Amazon does their compensation reviews is by taking a 30-day trailing average of what the stock was before the review happens. So when my stock was calculated, it was taken at a price of $173. So my total compensation right now is $166,300 in base salary, and then about exactly the same, $166,000 in stocks. The difference is that the stock portion again fluctuates a little bit day over day. With the stock today being at $189, bumps up a little bit, which brings my overall projected comp right now to about $345,000. So another one of the things that I did that really helped me progress my career fast is networking with people that are in that field. I tried to find as many people as I could who were one step ahead of me, whether that was in project management, whether that was in operations, to see exactly what they did to get there. They would give me a good outline of what different trainings and resources they used, and I found a ton of free platforms like A Cloud Guru that my company was already sponsoring that I could take advantage of and find free trainings. They gave me tips on what to try, what to avoid, and I was even able to take a lot of my real world work scenarios and get their second opinion on it, just to see what I should do. Once you have networked with these people and you've understood what resources you need, the next thing is to set aside the time to build the skills fast. If you've networked with someone and they tell you you need to do 2 or 3 certifications to land that role, set your sights on that path. And I don't mean necessarily just taking one course and calling it a day. You really have to dive headfirst into that direction if you want to grow quick. You can do formal education courses like AWS certifications, but there's also a ton of creators who can teach you a lot about the field you're interested in to try and supplement your learning too. For product management, I subscribe to a couple of different newsletters like Product Growth by Akash Gupta and Lenny's newsletter by Lenny Rachitsky, where they talk to a bunch of entrepreneurs and do business case studies to understand what worked well to build products for these companies. I found that by networking with people, doing trainings quickly, and supplementing my education with the content of different creators, I've been able to grow my knowledge and make an impact in my space very, very quickly. And hopefully you're able to do the same. If you'd like to succeed as a product manager or grow your tech skills, feel free to subscribe to the channel or like the video for more content.